Okay, I think everybody's ready. Welcome to the June meeting of the Rittenhouse Astronomical Society, everybody. I'm Ted Williams. I'm the president. Thank you for coming out tonight. I'm sitting out here on the back deck, got my telescope gear out here. I don't want to make any promises because I'm not hooking my camera up yet, but those of you who've been teaming along with us these past couple of Monday nights, you kind of know I'm working on a project. So let me give you all a little bit of an update of what's been happening recently with us. If you look at our website, you'll notice that we've been hosting a Monday night Astro Quora, which is just a funny word for bring your questions, and we do astronomy. We're getting about 15 people on average on those nights, and what's been really unique is we had a couple cool experiences. One of the experiences, we were watching a telescope just like this, hooked up through a video camera, and we all jointly saw a shooting star go through the Beehive star cluster. Seemed kind of odd to see it on a little tiny screen, but in this new era with COVID, it was actually kind of cool, a very unique experience. And then we had something else happen, which really kind of impressed me. We were all on together on one of the Monday night sessions, and Denise popped on, guessed it. We have a space shuttle crossing. And we decided we'd hang out, and there were about 19 of us on, and a couple of us were able to hold our iPads up in the sky and actually see the space shuttle go across. And I'll be honest with all of you, I didn't really know that Zoom would have this type of effect, like even on me. But after I signed off that night, I thought to myself, wow, how cool. Either I would have just sat out here by myself and watched it cross, or I would have shared it with some 20 other people and seen it together. And it was so neat to see their reactions. Some ran outside and looked with their eyes. Some had their iPads with them. Some of us had it on our iPads. We watched the space shuttle cross between the moon and Arcturus. So Arcturus will be in our talk a bit tonight. Well, anyhow, you're all welcome if you're a member, and if you're one of our Muddy Run Observatory operators, you're also welcome. We do that on Monday nights. There really is no forum other than a share, and what we do is we share some stuff. I've been connecting with some members through it, and it allows me to see some of their talent. Joe's been showing us some of his astro photos, and Ted has been sharing with us some things on how to get on SLU, and I'm hoping Mike Smith signs on tonight, because here's an amazing thing that happened to me as an educator. When I do a lecture that somebody remembers a year later and says, Ted, you inspired me, and I went out and took pictures of all these 3 globular clusters, he remembered a talk I did on that great globular cluster triangle. So if he signs on, maybe I'll ask him to share some of those photos. It was kind of cool to realize, wow, I got to watch what I say, because people actually go out and do this stuff. So it's great to have you all kind of joining in. We're going to do our segments, a couple of them tonight. Most all of them are live, I believe. Denise is going to be coming up second. She's going to do our planet talk, and then I'll follow her. I wanted to do a little bit of a sky talk. I want to add to our globular clusters. I want to show you some maps of them and what these really are, for those of you who don't know what a globular cluster is. And tonight, we have a guest speaker. A guest speaker is Elan Lift, and I met Elan probably about a year back, and he came out to a Muddy Run event, and he introduced himself as a president of the Berks County Astronomy Club. And I thought, wow, here's another club that we can kind of like make a little bit of a jointure with. And he came out to a couple different ones of our events, and then he came out to one of them, and he was talking to me about, he wanted to be a volunteer, but he really was concerned about light pollution. He was losing skies up there in Berks County. What we did is we kind of dreamed up this idea, and we looked online and came up with a project that's going on called the Globe at Night. It's a citizen science project. So here was our honest plan, everybody. In March, Elan was going to come out to Muddy Run and show people how to use this application. And then he was going to come to the Franklin Institute and talk to us a little bit about the importance of light pollution. Well, that got all messed up because of the virus, and everything got jump. We still really want to do this global citizen science project, and we want to involve people at Muddy Run, but you can do it anywhere. And I don't want to steal his fire tonight, but I know he's very concerned about light pollution. He's kind of taking an active stance. He's going to some city council and some government meetings about it. So I'd like to introduce everybody to Elan Lift. So Elan, can you turn your picture on? There you
Thanks,
go.
Ted.
And I'm going to mute myself and go ahead and take it from there.
Well, thanks so much, Ted. Hi, I'm Elan. I have been doing space stuff only recently, really. I found myself with a little stupid telescope, a department store thing, and tried to use it. Ended up jamming paper into the lens to get it to fit right, and then I couldn't see anything anyway. And I finally peeked Saturn through it. I knew where it was going to be. I found the rings, and I was blown away. And I chased Saturn with this little rinky-dink telescope through the sky until it had set in the horizon. So that got me hooked. I started at the NEAG Planetarium at the Reading Public Museum, just learning more about astronomy, and then just learned about what was around me. I was starting to learn more about the stars and planets and things I could see and some of the science and history, but I wanted to go out and look at the stuff. And so I found myself just going out with little stupid telescopes, seeing what I could see, doing little Messier marathons where I could, but mainly starting with the planets. What I found was when you bring a piece of equipment out, everybody's interested. There was a concert in downtown Reading here in Berks County, and right afterward, I set up my telescope on the corner facing south. We had the moon, Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars all lined up. I don't know how many hundred people looked through probably a $50 telescope or something like that. It was really terrible, but they saw the rings of Saturn. They saw a couple of the bands of Jupiter, and even the dominoes guy stopped and took a look. So I've been doing just a little bit of urban astronomy, and for the moon phases, the week before and after the full moon is great for public outreach. But on the contrary, going out and doing deep sky stuff is also something I'm toying around with. I'm learning a little bit more. Um, and I noticed that these warehouses were put in just across a highway. There were really no lights around before, and the warehouse is using fully shielded lights and dimmer lights facing down, but you bounce it off an empty parking lot and you ruin the sky as well. So we'll talk a little bit about light pollution, what we can do to prevent it, and other things with light pollution. And so Ted and I got to talking, brainstorming what we could do, and he came up with this science project. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch from my view. I'm going to share my screen. Let's try this, and we'll hit share. Okay, so here we have the U-2 rover on the moon from the Chang'e mission from China. It's a cute little rover. Moves pretty quick, but let's see if I can pull up my web pages here. Oh, and we have a few different resources. So International Dark Sky Association is one resource that we can all use. And it is really international, but it's not the only one. For us here in Pennsylvania, there is a Pennsylvania Outdoor Lighting Council that correlates a lot of this information. A lot of it's from International Dark Sky Association, but that's pretty far into the weeds. Let's make this easy. Globeatnight.org is one of the easiest, most simple resources for light pollution, tracking it and correlating the data. So there's a little bit of NASA work, citizen science projects, and a bunch of other organizations involved, and a handful of universities and things like that, all working with this data. So here is globeatnight.org. If you want to go straight to the web app, it's globeatnight.org/web app. But if we scroll around a little bit, basically the the Globe at Night website is an international campaign highlighting the impact of light pollution. And so we're losing the night sky. We're building more infrastructure. Our cities are getting bigger. There's more people. And if we start to do the smart thing and start to reduce our output of light and really stop wasting the energy by sending it to the sky and direct it to where we need it, we can preserve this natural resource we've had for a long time. For thousands of years, the only light pollution were the fires that we've made. And now with light bulbs and things like that, we have a lot more to worry about. So I'm not going to go into fully shielded lighting as much, but I would like to show you this web app, this website. So Globe at Night chooses an easy constellation, some of the brightest stars you have overhead, and it explores what we can see beyond it. Now, if you're in downtown Philly, you'd be lucky to catch some of the brighter stars. Two stars, Boötes, in Boötes, Arcturus, and coming up in the summer sky, Vega, but we'll get there a little bit later. I'm going to talk about Boötes. So right after the sun goes down, we start to see stuff coming out in our sky. Now, you don't want to look into the sky when the moon is out, so we're going to concentrate all collection of this data to 5 days around the new moon. So that's actually coming up. If we check back here, it gave us the actual dates from June 13th to June 22nd. Those are going to be the best days to take this data. So if you're looking up at your night sky, hopefully you're able to see any stars at all, and we want to make sure we're at least an hour after sunset. I try to wait at least 2 hours before taking any of this info, but 1 hour afterward, you should start to see some of the brighter stuff. Here it's nice and highlighted, and we'll talk about what's in the sky later. I think a few other people are going to talk about brighter things in the sky and some dim stuff, but we're going to look for the brightest stars first. So let's break out one of these charts. Now, here we have magnitude charts. So when we start talking magnitude, we're talking about how dark the sky is. I think if I can pull up the Bortle scale here, if I'm fighting with the taskbar here. Here we go. So here's a night sky where in an urban setting, you're not going to see a whole lot. You have those light particles, dust in the sky, collecting the light, the scattered light, and brightening our sky. You don't really get to see much beyond it. As you get to more and more suburban areas, you can start to see a little bit more, some of the brighter stars out in your sky. And of course, as you get more rural, as you get to actual dark sites, you can even have a chance to see the Milky Way with your naked eye. Not everyone gets to see this. You have to travel. If you live in an urban area, you have to get out of the city to catch something like this. I know Ted has some sites in mind, but here's the Milky Way. All of these images are from the same place, but we have different light pollution. It looks like they took this during sunset. So we have different dimnesses in our sky, all the way down to the dimmest possible. And even dimmer than that, you're putting things into space outside our atmosphere. So our atmosphere is one thing to consider. And the higher up you are, the less light pollution. But we're not all going to be able to send telescopes out into space. So we're going to look for areas where you're not looking with any lights in your direction. You're not going to have any stores in front of you, hopefully, any street lights. Maybe you can talk to your community. And actually, through Globe at Night, you can sponsor a street. But we'll check back to the main site in just a little bit. So magnitude 0, you're really looking at a sky that you can only see the bright stuff. Arcturus and Jupiter are here. We'll take a closer look at these constellations later, but let's go back here. And you know what? Let's go straight to the web app. So I'm going to go globeatnight.com or globeatnight.org, excuse me, /web app. 2 P's on the app. And it pulls us right into this thing. So on a phone, it works out great. It's like a little app. You can set a shortcut to it, but it's globeatnight.org/web app. So number one, after you're in that period around a new moon, 5 days before or after, you're going to have the darkest conditions available to you. So you want to take note of the date. You want to make sure your time is 1 hour after sunset or later. I prefer later, but we all have a bedtime. You want to make sure you're taking it from exactly where you are. The data is important to get as accurate as you can, so you want to get as close to where you are as possible. So you can actually bring it up on the map. You can actually punch in your GPS points, or if you're on your phone or other device, you can hit that GPS button, and it'll tell you exactly where you are. So after we narrow down the date, the time, and where you're taking this data from, during one of these campaigns where we take the darkest available sky. Now we're going to start to look at what we can see. So here we have magnitude 0 skies, and you want to compare these charts. Now, there's only a few charts here at the bottom, and as we click through, we'll see more and more stars. Now, this is a pretty star-littered field. This is as good as it gets. So let's say I'm in a suburban area, and I'm only seeing the brightest stuff overhead. Now, finding Arcturus or finding Vega, knowing which is which, that'll take a little sky know-how. In dimmer skies, you're actually going to find the Big Dipper there. One trick I like to use is to arc to Arcturus. So if you imagine the Dipper as a spoon or a bowl, you go to the handle side, and those 3 stars, you continue that pattern, that arc, to Arcturus. So that sort of lets us know which star we're looking at. And of course, if you know a little bit about your skies, you can figure out which star is where if you know which direction you're facing. So we're going to get a little darker here. Now we can start to see some of the stars that make up Boötes here. Sort of looks like a kite. They call him the herdsman, but I don't see it. You can sort of make up your own stories. That's what I'd like to do. But here it looks like it zooms in a little bit. We're at a darker magnitude, but we're seeing a lot more background stars, stars that you really don't see unless you have binoculars or you're at a very dark site. So if you're in a city setting, you'd be lucky to catch some of these stars, but as we get to darker and darker areas, we can start to figure out where we are. Now, I'm talking about Boötes, a spring constellation, and as we go through the year, we see different constellations, but one other spring constellation, Hercules, is also available in the same way with these magnitude charts. So really, we're finding what we can and trying to match the chart as best we can. So I'm going to jump back to the website here and jump back to the campaign dates. And here we have all of the months through the end of the year. And so Boötes is one that will stick around. Hercules goes through the next few months. But one star you're going to see in our sky coming up is Vega. That's in our summer sky. So really the brightest things you're going to have in your sky at this time, and I'll hand that over for those, Vega, Jupiter, and Boötes, and Arcturus, excuse me. Arcturus in Boötes are going to be the brightest things. So we'll jump to our charts. Here we go. So here we have our night sky. Right after sunset, and of course around our horizon, we see that atmosphere getting a little thicker, maybe a little haze. But we should see the Big Dipper pretty much overhead, and we're going to arc to Arcturus, bringing us towards the south, towards the southwest. So globe at night is one of the tools that we can use to start to correlate this information. And like I said, as we're going through the years here, we're seeing more and more light pollution, more infrastructure put in. So I'm going to load this light pollution map. This is just one tool, lightpollutionmap.info. There are plenty of dark site finders. Choose your favorite, but I'm going to zoom in here and change this map to, let's just jump back to 2016. And if you notice, well, we have super bright areas. The red is going to be super bright, and out here in the ocean, there's no light. So our purple regions, our brownish gray regions, those aren't going to be as heavily light polluted. So I'm going to refresh back from 2016 into 2019. And that wasn't as quick, so you can't get the flicker effect there. But we definitely have more light pollution now than ever. And unless we do something, it's just going to get worse and worse. And what light pollution does, it can affect not just your vision, but it actually affects your health. People who live in light polluted areas are more prone to breast and prostate cancer. Wildlife in the area doesn't survive like it needs to. The ecosystem is affected by the lights that we build. Of course, all the infrastructure we put out, like roads and houses too. And also even the plants. Take notice of any trees that might be in a parking lot around lights that are lit all the time. And those are going to be not doing as well as some of the trees that you might see out further away from populated areas. I'm going to try to refresh this one more time. Um, so here you can start to see the structures where we have heavily light polluted areas, and now we're starting to see them connect more and more. So here we have New York City, Philadelphia, and we can see even the highway structures with these light pollution maps. So in tracking light pollution on the ground, it's handy to have these satellites and tools, but Globe at Night is one tool where we can start to document how bad it's getting in our area, and or how good it is, um, how much better it can be. I'm actually in talks with my city council here in Reading to reduce our light pollution footprint. And I'd highly encourage you to go out to your municipality, your city, your local city council, and talk about light pollution, see what your local ordinances are. Now, the last thing I'm going to say about light pollution is not just from what we see down here on the ground, or looking down on the ground and around our areas, but if you happen to be out in a dark place, you can look up into our sky and start to find some satellites. Now, there's thousands of satellites up right now. There is a promised tens of thousands of satellites over the next few years. And this is just one other angle into light pollution that I'd like to consider. So light pollution is something that affects us all, and it's the resource for our natural sky. And one way that you can make a difference, that you can start to, that you can get involved, is to check out globeatnight.org, go to the web app, and start to take some of this data down. It's important to notice what we can while we can. So wait for that clear, dark sky. Take note of how cloudy it might be. You really don't want to be observing during a rainstorm, but sky cloudier than half, it might be worth trying the next night. So we want to wait for a clear, dark night for the best possible data. And even if it's hazy in your area, it's possible to still take this information. You can write down the different conditions, any comments, things like that. If you happen to have a sky quality meter, go ahead and write that in, and be sure to submit that data, to send that in, and then we can start to see where this information ends up. So globeatnight.org is a citizen science project. You don't have to be a professor. You don't have to be an authority on it. But what you got to do is you got to get out and look up at your clear, dark skies. So if we all take note and all take part, here you can start to see some of the data points popping up. Where I am in the Reading area, we have a few data points out here from some dark sites, and of course from the center of Reading. So with that,
Elan,
thank you for, yeah.
can you scroll us down to our area? Because I was looking at our area and we don't have anything in there. Can you get us down to Philadelphia? So
I'm not sure if it's taking it.
Here's our challenge, everybody. I can see Elan's effect already because you can see the data up there in the Reading area. So what I wanted to do was have us not only do Philadelphia, you know, it's already hard to prevent light pollution there, but it's a good spot to practice from because we'd really like to collect the data out at Muddy Run. And what the idea behind this was, Elan's going to join us out there as a volunteer. We're going to dedicate a time right after we do a Muddy Run event and take people up on the hillside there so they can get a really good view of the night sky. He can show you with a laser where the constellations are for those of you who have a hard time finding them. And we wanted to collect some data out there because we have the same challenge out there in Holtwood, Pennsylvania, as Elan has up in Berks County. We've got encroaching light pollution. And the only way we can actually, you know, figure out how it's happening is to really start taking data points. And that means you can be involved. You can be one of the citizen scientists that actually make that happen. If you look at the map right here, and you guys want to know about when everyone says, oh, Cherry Springs, Elan, see if you can find Coldersport. It's up in the upper left-hand side. You're close. Yep, go up, you're there. So right about there is Cherry Springs, one of the darker areas. That's one of the areas we're actually trying to save. Believe it or not, as you head east on Route 80 there, you can actually start to see the glow of New York. And I'd say once you get past Williamsport and start heading over, you start to see some of that glow too. So Elan's kind of dedicated himself to seeing if he can get people. The first step to a problem is just making people aware of it. And I'd like to thank you, Elan, for coming on board and making us a little bit more aware about the project.
Elan, before you change your screen, what was that Pennsylvania website again?
There's also the International Dark Sky
Right, I have that one,
Association.
but I was curious about Pennsylvania outdoor, because there is a light that flashes white all night long, and I think it should turn to red. And I wanted to look at this. I thought they should turn to red at night, because I'm sure it's messing up the wildlife and everything else where it is. So
this is one of the conversations we need to start, and we need to start now. The best time to start was yesterday, but now we have the chance to go in and see what changes we can make. And light trespass is a real thing that people deal with. So definitely look into your ordinances in your local area, get as specific as possible before we try to take things. Writing Congress might not be the most effective way right now. So go to your local, or get in touch with your local municipality and see what you can do. There are some resources here. A lot of them actually reroute to the International Dark Sky Association, but we do have some things written out here as well.
Yes, I wanted to look at that. Thank you.
Go ahead, get to the International Dark Sky, Elan.
So, International Dark Sky Association also has lots about light pollution.
And what you'll find here, and Elan, this is where you'll strike a bell with a lot of people. I know 4 or 5 who've talked to me in the club. Light trespass. When you have that really bright floodlight in your neighbor's yard shining into your yard. If you go to the site here, there's actually letters that they show you, sample letters that you can do to contact your neighbor to take an informative stance about what they're doing with the lights. So I know I deal with it. Well, I have an entire casino in my backyard, so I don't think that Parks is going to take their giant jumbo video screens and turn them all red for me, but those of you who have a neighbor who has something like that, there's actually some good ideas here on how to take care of that. Thank you, Elan. So if Elan, if you hang out, we'll know you're here at the end, and if anyone has some questions at that time, we'll do it. But it's easier for us to go from person to person right now. So if you want to,
I'll hand it back over.
Okay, and I'd like to introduce everybody to our Vice President, Denise Vecca. Denise has her own Star Lab, and you can tell she's in it right now.
I wish.
No, but it is. That's her backdrop from her Star Lab. And Denise has been with us quite a while, and she does a segment with us called the Planet Report. So take it away, Denise.
All righty. I want to thank everybody for coming out and zooming with us tonight. Yeah, I'm Stars on the Move, but lately it's been Stars on the Zoom. So I put a little Planet Report together for us. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully we will... I don't think I'm a host. Okay. I need to be put as a host again. I'm sorry. I had to log off. I was having computer issues.
I got you.
Thank you.
Oh, Ted beat me. There we go.
Sorry, everybody. Okay, I can share my screen now. Very good. So we are going to do it this way. And I am going to hit play. And hopefully everybody can see my opening page.
Yes.
Planet Report. Of course, I have a beautiful picture of the Earth from Saturn, pale blue dot. And on the right of the screen is something I found I thought was funny. Me in the Fells back years and years and years ago, probably over 20 years ago that picture was taken. So
I remember that shot. I even had it on our website.
Isn't that awesome with the console and everything like that? That was great. That's when a planetarium was magic, you know, it wasn't just a video. So
remember, it was Digistar up there too.
It was
the stick figures. Cool.
That was,
okay.
I think, the space station or something. What it was supposed to look like. So yes, very good. I just thought that was fun, and little Muddy Run Observatory up in the beginning. So I thought I'd start with Mercury. We're going to go basically sunset to sunrise, and Mercury. It has been visible. It's getting really, really low. I'm sure Joe can spot it in the glow of twilight, still in a blue sky, but you have to be careful because it's getting closer to the sun again. So you probably will need binoculars, and Mercury is in the constellation of Gemini still. So if you go out, here's where it is right there, that I don't have a mouse, but where the red lines are is where we can see the planet Mercury. So as you can see, it is still very much in twilight, well before, by the time it's dark, you really can't see Mercury, especially if you have houses and trees. But I got to see it, so that was kind of cool. I don't have a picture of it, but second time I've seen Mercury in my life. So there you go, saying something. All right, so hopefully, yes, Jupiter, that's the one we were talking about. It's kind of the star of the show right now. Jupiter is up by about 11:30. If you have a really good view of the horizon, I was able to see Jupiter and Saturn a little bit before midnight. Over a lake, so that was kind of nice. I had a really good shot of the eastern or the southeastern horizon, so I was able to see the planet Jupiter. Lots of things to look at: the Great Red Spot, the beautiful bands of color. These can be seen in small telescopes, and if you have a really good pair of binoculars, you might even be able to see the moons. I'm more of a naked eye astronomer, so I just like going out and looking at the planet as it is. And right now it is near, whoops, let's see if we can get Saturn to play. Is it going to play? I lost my Saturn. Let's try it one more time. There we go. So Saturn, my favorite planet to look at in a telescope is Jupiter, but Saturn is a lot of people's favorites, and it really wows people the first time they see it. If you can't stay up till after midnight, you got young kids, or just have to work in the morning or whatever, don't worry, because as we get through the summer, Jupiter and Saturn will be up earlier and earlier. Now, no, you're not going to be able to see all this stuff through a telescope, but you will be able to see the rings, so that's always kind of cool. And Titan, one of the moons of Saturn, usually can be seen as well. And there's a lot of interesting stuff going on with the moons of Saturn. And Saturn, I believe right now, is the king of the solar system as far as moons go. I think it has more than Jupiter now, a little bit over 80. So there we can see some of those in the ring plane, which is really cool. These are some great videos. I got these off of NASA's website. They're high-def videos that are free for public domain. So if you're interested in finding beautiful pictures of Saturn, you can get these, or you can go out and see it in the sky on your own. I took this picture I showed Ted the other night. The brighter one is Jupiter. It's bigger, it's closer, so it's going to look a little bit brighter in our sky. And there is Saturn right next to it. Now, you might think that's Mars down at the bottom, that little red dot. But no, that was a light in somebody's house across the lake. So I took this picture with my phone, so I was pretty impressed. And yeah, thanks, Dad. Not a planet. But Mars is up also in the morning. So if you get up early in the morning, after about 3 a.m., I think you should be able to see Mars. And once again, Mars Global Surveyor, Mars Pathfinder, Curiosity, they're all sending these great videos, beautiful images of craters. This crater is over like 3 miles wide. So that's pretty impressive. It must have been something really big that hit Mars. And these are actual real pictures of Mars. So it's kind of like you're there. Once again, NASA has all these free websites with video that you can download. I always edit them because they're really long, and I take the best bits and I delete their audio and put my audio in there. So you can get these beautiful pictures. So you can see the tracks right there where Curiosity was going all over everything, running around on the planet Mars. There's Mount Sharp. Yeah, this was a great video, and it is worth listening to the guy's audio, but I kind of wanted to use it for my presentation, so he's out. I'm in. So beautiful planet Mars. Now, as Joe was talking about, well, first off, let's go with Jupiter, Saturn, where they're going to be. In between Sagittarius and Capricornus is where you're going to find Jupiter and Saturn. Mars is heading out of Aquarius, and it's kind of like between Aquarius and Pisces. This was taken, this is a screenshot for 2 o'clock in the morning. So by 2, if you have a good view of the horizon, you can see Mars. The moon will be up earlier in the morning. We're headed towards that new moon, so we're going to have a thin moon in the morning. But Neptune as Joe was talking about, probably in a binocular width of Mars. So it's going to be easy to find Neptune right now. And Uranus is up, and even Venus is up in the morning sky. So Venus is no longer at night, which is my favorite time to see it, when it's quote unquote an evening star, but Venus now is our morning star. So if you're up before work or school or camp or whatever you're doing in the summertime, laying on the beach, that's the time to see Venus. So the moon will be up, and as we're talking about the new moon, I thought I'd mention the annular eclipse. Now, I always thought annular kind of meant yearly. Duh. But I recently realized that annular means ring, and that's what it is. It's the ring of fire eclipse. So that's what an annular, a total solar eclipse is when the moon totally blocks out the sun and we see the corona. But this happens when the moon is at apogee. So the moon is far away from the earth, and it doesn't completely block out the whole disk of the sun. So we have an annular solar eclipse. That's kind of when you can see Bailey's beads, that kind of stuff where there's a little bead, it looks like beads around at the bottom of the moon. So this is going to happen on the 21st, and it's going to happen not here because the eclipse is at like 2:41 a.m. So it's in the middle of the night. So we're not going to be able to see the eclipse, but things like SLU, I'm sure Ted could probably hook us up with a link on where to watch the eclipse through SLU, and some other places online, because Central Africa and Asia, places like that, where they will be able to see the ring of fire. I wanted to play Johnny Cash in the background, but I decided against it. I could sing it for you, but I won't. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about, last thing, is the summer solstice, because that's the big thing that's happening this month on the 21st, or excuse me, the 20th this year is the summer solstice, and it's in the middle of the afternoon, about 5:45, 5:43, I think. And this is the time that the sun will be as far north as it's going to get. The sun does not set directly in the west, and it does not rise directly in the east. In the summer, it sets northwest and it rises northeast. So the position of the sun is high. That means the angle of the sun is high. And that's why, even though we're further from the earth, or excuse me, from the sun in the summertime, the earth is hotter. It's bathed in sunlight for longer amounts of time. The angle is higher, so the whole earth gets heated up. Whereas in the winter, as you can see down here, once again, I don't know where my mouse is, but the bottom one is the winter solstice. The sun never gets very high in the sky. And the only time that the sun sets truly in the west is the spring and fall equinox. So right now, if you say the sun sets in the west, technically it should be a little bit northwest. So that's on the 20th, not the 21st. That the 21st is the eclipse, and the 20th is the solstice. So you got every naked eye planet is up, so that's cool. I mean, Neptune and Uranus are a stretch for naked eye around here. You definitely would need binoculars or even a small telescope for those planets. But Jupiter, Saturn, Venus even, and Mercury if you're really good like Joe. So lots of things to look at. We got the solstice, we got the eclipse, new moon, and then we have to look forward to the crescent moon in our early evening skies. And with that, lots and lots of constellations that I'm sure Ted's going to show us, and some deep sky objects to see there as well. So that's it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I will stop sharing. Let me just make sure. Oh, real quick, stop. Wanted to share this last one. If you're interested in the summer solstice, they're doing an event live from Stonehenge. I thought that's really cool. At the bottom, the Facebook page is down there at English Heritage. It starts at sunset and goes till sunrise the next day on the 20th. So this is a live summer solstice event at Stonehenge. So if you can't go there, and they're requesting that people do not go there on the internet. So I'm going to try and check in. It's going to be open for a long event. So hopefully you'll get to see that as well. So thanks for letting me share, everybody, and have a great night.
Thanks, Denise. Doing a good job. I appreciate it. And
Thank
by the way, you did that event at the end. We should do it at Medicine Wheel. I don't think anybody does an event out at Medicine Wheel on
There you
the
go, Ted.
summer solstice. I'll have to check it out. I do know I've asked a lot of people up there. They don't really have any Native American Indians coming out. They get a lot of crystal lovers, people who
Okay.
bring crystals and put them on the rocks. And I think it was Alien Civilizations show that is actually, that's all the people are coming for the wrong reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
But it's
I was at Stonehenge. You could feel energy there. I mean, it was weird. I mean, you know me, I'm not religious or anything like that, but you could feel some kind of energy coming from that area, whether it was just because it was so ancient or the way the rocks or the rocks themselves, if they harbor energy. They even had a warmth to them. So
it's so weird you say that, because when I sit up at Medicine Wheel by myself, I have that same feeling. It's something so strange about the ground or the ambiance of the view of where you're sitting up there. So if you guys haven't experienced it, maybe, you know, we're picking up on something else, but believe me, same thing, same feeling as you're walking around that ancient site. I wonder if it's just because you think of so many people, you know, for thousands of years walking over the same area. I don't know.
I don't know what it was, but you could feel it. You definitely could feel it.
Well, thanks, Denise. You did a good job on that.
Thanks, Ted.
I wanted to continue on tonight, and when I'm going to do this, I'm going to switch over and share my screen, everybody. What I'd like to do, let me try it again. Sorry, I'll get this right. Okay, so now you're on my screen on this one, and I wanted to bring up some software right here. There we go. So again, I use Sky Safari software when I'm using my night sky, and curses, Denise, there it is. I see it, bat eyes. Can you guys see this right down the bottom here? This is Castor and Pollux. So I've been going out to Muddy Run, trying to do some of the videos coming up for that. And if you look just around sunset, there's them bat eyes looking at me over the horizon. I even see the bat wings on either side. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Denise has an asterism. She talks about the bat logo up in the sky. So there they are. I've been seeing those after sunset, right at sunset. High overhead, or spring's actually fading away now. There's Leo the lion, a big backward question mark. That might be all you see in your nighttime sky. So what I've done here is I'm highlighting asterisms. Asterisms are just general shapes, and they're what you really can find, not necessarily the constellations up there. And there we go. There's the diamond of Virgo. And I think I've shown this in a planetarium a couple times. This diamond is open to interpretation because some people draw it right here as you have it with Spica, the stars of Virgo. But if you want to make a giant diamond out of it, you start at Spica, you go over to Anabola, go all the way up to Corporale, go all the way down to Arcturus, and then back down to Spica again. So it's interesting. I can annotate Denise's screen, but I can't do my screen. But that's the giant diamond that's there. And there's some sites here that are worthwhile. The globular triangle I kept talking about a while ago is visible, but hey, a lot of you are trapped at home. A lot of you are under light polluted skies. So I thought I wanted to give you a good binocular site. If you look over here, right in the center of this giant spring diamond, between the backward question mark and Boötes, the kite shape there, is a little known constellation called Corona, the Queen's Hair, Coma Berenice. And this, when we go out west, is a drop dead beautiful star cluster. I'm going to try something here for a second. I don't like how some of these grids come up. Grid and reference. Oh, come on, show grid. Nope, it's not doing that one for me. Well, anyhow, this is the star cluster itself. And what you've got here, long time ago, it used to be the tail of Leo the lion. It looked like a big tuft of hair. You can almost imagine it. You see where Leo's tail is down below. You just have to stretch it up. It's a catalog number called Malat 11111, and it is a beautiful star cluster. I'm going to give you a little bit of a trick here, and I was trying this when I was doing it the other night with our telescopes. If you've seen some of this before, let's do this one. Oh, come on, I'm looking for something here. Give me a second. There we go. So I've turned off some of the annotations around it. When you want to show this in a telescope and you show it like this, people see nothing but a field of stars. Remember, it's a star cluster, and it's a giant star cluster, a little bit too big to actually be enjoyed in a telescope. So what I've started to do to some people who I've shown this before is I'll start it over here, and I believe it's just your declination control. I'm sorry, right ascension control. And what you can do is you tell them, go ahead and pan through. Because when you pan through, now you notice you're in a star cluster. And then when it fades away down the bottom, you see that it's gone. It's that motion that really can make you enjoy this in a telescope. So I know some of you don't want to have your people touch your telescopes. Well, when we get to the point we can do that again, encourage them to do it, because the best way to see these type of clusters is by moving them through the field of view. Now, don't get confused here. It's a beautiful star cluster, and when we're out in Wyoming and we're also out in Utah, this whole area glitters so brightly, it almost looks like a faint Magellanic cloud. I don't know if it's a trick of the eye. They say that it does actually look like light bouncing off of water or a woman's hair. Well, anyhow, you don't want to confuse that, though, because that's a famous cluster. It's only 200 and some light years out, so it's one of our closer clusters. But don't confuse it with another region, and that would be the Virgo supercluster. So let me show the objects again here, because when you go down into this region, here's the cluster of stars, okay? This is the Coma star cluster. And then here's the Virgo supercluster of galaxies. Problem is light pollution. You're not going to see a lot of these, but when we're out at Muddy Run, we've definitely picked out M88 over in here. We've picked out, that's one of the larger ones of one of the next groups over from us. And we've even cited Macarian's chain, a whole chain of little galaxies that are out there that we can actually follow with the larger scope. So two areas out here, the star cluster in Coma Berenice, and then also the Virgo supercluster. I've been doing a lot with globular clusters lately, and it's because I'm trying to learn how to use a camera looking at the night sky. And the three globular clusters that are now up around Boötes, which are really bright, and by the way, tonight, hey, you're looking around 9:30, they're best place to see, because if you look between south down here at the very bottom of the screen and you draw a line straight up to north, we could call that a meridian. So let's put a meridian there so you see it. Anything that's near that meridian, that's going to be the clearest view that you have in the nighttime sky. So those three globular clusters, M3, this one down here, M5, and then this one over here, M13, we've talked about these a couple times. Joe likes to call this globular cluster season. Well, here's another one. Don't forget about this one nearby. Right up here is M92. It's overlooked a lot, but if you look at it, it's a 6.4 magnitude. Look down the left-hand column there, about 3 down from the top. So that's actually very bright also. And that's one worth actually picking out of that nighttime sky there, 92, and then Hercules, the big globular cluster, is right down below that. Globular clusters, when you've never seen them before, really do kind of look like galaxies when you're first picking them out of the nighttime sky. So I was listening to Elan the other night on the radio, and I was talking with Denise before this presentation, and she was really interested, and he had also talked about this 13th zodiac constellation, Ophiuchus. And I think I heard on that dark news or dark black hole radio that the end of the world's coming up again. If you remember, I think it's coming up in another day. Maybe it's this Saturday. The Mayan calendar was possibly wrong, and they calculate it wrong. Oh, well, anyhow, Ophiuchus has been in our topic of discussion because it's a 13th zodiac sign. So we've known this for a while, and here's how it kind of works. Let me show this to you. Ecliptic path. So the ecliptic path is where all the planets travel. That's the yellow line right there. And if you were to line them all up across the sky, that's actually your zodiac signs. So if you look down there, the bat eyes right there, thanks Denise, bat eyes, Castor and Pollux. Then there's Cancer. You go up here and you can see Leo. These are all your zodiac signs, and they follow that ecliptic path. There's Virgo. Going over here is Libra, and coming down here is Scorpio. But look at Ophiuchus's leg. There he is. So he really has been a 13th zodiac constellation. Astronomers have really known this for quite some time. The zodiac path is rather wide. It's not that narrow in the ecliptic. Some of the planets will stray a little bit north of that yellow line and sometimes south. The yellow line really denotates the path of the sun. And the sun doesn't really make a path. We're going around the sun, and it traces this path out across the sky. So Denise was actually talking to me about finding Ophiuchus. And I also noticed that since I'm into these globular clusters, I might be able to inspire people to look for another one. But take a look at Ophiuchus right here. There's a pattern that comes up that I can see in Philadelphia sky pretty easily. I'm going to turn the constellation off if you guys don't mind, because it gets in the way. Nope, nope, nope. Let's try this. Okay. So if you look carefully where Ophiuchus is supposedly, well, now we have way too many stars right here. There's the globular clusters again, M5, M3, way down here. I don't have the label on it. And there's M13 up there in Hercules also. But I'm looking around for a pattern that I normally see. And of course, I can't see it. So I'm going to cheat. I'm going to put the constellation back on. It's in the Serpent. There it is. So if you look in the Serpent itself, and it's hard for me to do this with you guys, here it is right here. There are two stars right here. I'll highlight them. I'm blinking them back and forth. And there's two more stars right about here. So it's like a pair, a 2 and a 2. And then there's one way out there and one way out there. For some reason, that double set of stars, these two here and these two here, that's how I can easily pick out Ophiuchus. Let's turn it off and see. So again, here we are, 1, 2, and then another 2, 1, 2. And then you see like a faint one way out there and a faint one way out there. So I don't know what it is about this area of the sky, but I can usually see those coming up. In fact, I've erroneously thought that these were both the hands right here of Ophiuchus, and then just fill in the rest of the stars up over towards Hercules at that point. But Denise, if you're out there looking for it, you might want to try these two stars and then the other two stars. That double pattern just seems to stand out to me every time I look over there. But here's what I'd like to challenge some people in. I'll put the constellation back up again because people are a little bit lost without it. Here's 2, here's M10, and here's M12. And these are actually pretty bright globular clusters also. If you look at M10 over here, 6.5 magnitude. So that's just past the field of view or vision, but really dark sky. If you have really good eyes, you'd be able to pick that one out. And look up at this one, M12. And if you look at that one, again, a little bit brighter. Visual magnitude is about 6.6 on this one. And take a look at this, everybody. If you look at M12 and you were to measure the distance over to M10, it's a little bit over 3 degrees. That means most binoculars, your low power binoculars that might only magnify 10 power, they see a good 6 degrees across. These two should be able to both be visible in binoculars. Now, I've seen both of them in my telescope, but I've never really challenged myself to see if I can find both of them in binoculars. So that might be kind of thing to look for. They're coming up now. This is earlier in the evening right now. Let me go a little bit later, 9:30, 10, 10:30. So those globular clusters, like by midnight tonight, take a look at that. They're actually straddling that southern meridian right there, going back and forth across that sky. So here's a challenge, everybody. I'm going to see if I can find them. Tonight, it's actually a good enough night. I'm still looking at my sky out here. I might try to find those with binoculars, too. So I've been talking about globular clusters an awful lot to some people, and I know some people always wonder, what the heck are you talking about? Well, let's take a look at this. If you take a look at the Milky Way galaxy, most of you are used to seeing the galaxy's disk. The very center is what we call the bulge. And I hate to inform everybody, we don't really have a big bulge. Our galaxy is a low to middle-sized bulge. It's not packing much down there in the core. But if you look at this picture around it, I have reason to doubt this is really accurate at this point. If you look at all the different arms they're showing you, they have 6 here. The Norma, the Scutum, Sagittarius, Orion arm. I believe that's been done away with almost 10 years back. We now know the Orion arm is a spur off the Sagittarius arm. So in more star maps coming out today, they say it's the Orion spur. They have the Perseus arm, the Cygnus arm there. And if you look it up in certain websites, they'll tell you there might be as many as 6 spiral arms. Problem is, and this has been coming up at the Hayden Planetarium with some of my colleagues up there, they challenge us all the time because this area of the galaxy, this is all just a simulation. This is not a real picture. We've never seen the stars on this side of the galactic core. The core is really too thick to be able to see and accurately map the stars on the other side. And it's been proposed by many astronomers. Well, imagine just like Orion's arm is really a spur off Sagittarius, is the Perseus and Cygnus and Norma Scutum arms, do they really maintain integrity around the disk, or do they merge on the other side? Or could this be, and there's been some people that proposed there could be maybe only 3 major arms that are all branching off, making the appearance of this multiple spiral that you see around us. So these spiral arms, and it is kind of active this way. If I zoom us in here, if you look at where we are, there's the sun in the center, so you can assume that's our spot. They don't have Earth on here. When we look towards the summer sky, we're looking down towards the Sagittarius arm. So that's basically the arm of the galaxy that you're seeing in our sky that runs through the summer triangle down towards Sagittarius and Scorpio. In the winter, we look the other way. We're looking out this way, and we're looking out past the next arm over, which is the Perseus arm. So we see the Perseus arm in the winter, and we see the Sagittarius arm in the summer. We're within the Orion spur, and it's not really visible to us because we're inside of that spur. So if I zoom out on this one, oh, here's where I wanted to show you these globular clusters now. Here's where I'll make the tie-in. When I keep talking to you about M5, M3, M13, here they are in red. They're at the top right here. M68 is also a globular cluster. You go down below, we have a dwarf galaxy, but we also have other globular clusters down here. Some of them are Messier objects. So there's a working theory as we start looking at different galaxies out there of globular clusters versus their cores. From what we can tell, and here's the Milky Way, we're a spiral galaxy. We've been recently redefined as a barred spiral. The sun is actually out towards the edge of the bar. We didn't really notice the bar in the center till more recently. But here we go. Here's our disk. And if you look at this structure called halo, the halo is really made up of the globular clusters. So we have a medium, midland bulge, not much of a bulge, and we only have about 190 globular clusters. What we started to notice as we look through the cosmos is that there was a correlation. The bigger the bulge, the more globular clusters there are. Well, to understand what these clusters are, you're actually looking at giant clusters. They look like white spheres in this picture right here, but these giant clusters are the oldest stars in the galaxy. We can tell because there's a lot of white dwarfs out there. Those are stars that have completed their life cycle and have burned off their outer atmosphere. But most of the stars that we see in these clusters, they're not like our sun. They're first generation stars. They're only really rich in hydrogen and helium gas. What these do is they fly around the Milky Way like a beehive. They're not just out there in the halo, they dive bomb through the galactic disk. And every time they go through the disk, some of the lower mass stars get ripped off into the disk. Now, these old stars that are up here in these clusters, when they first exploded, they're the stars that started seeding the galaxies with more heavy elements. When our star comes along later on in its existence, it takes advantage of all those elements that were formed when these stars blew up, and the supernova made the elements that are more heavy, that are like the carbon and the oxygen and the heavier elements that we see within our star also. So I've been also doing a lot of work recently because I think you guys know I have a fascination with this Sombrero galaxy. And I recently shared with one of our Monday night groups that I was actually able to find this by averted vision in my backyard telescope. So here's an interesting conundrum I'll share with you all. This galaxy, the Sombrero, is only about 1/3 of the size of the Milky Way. And that giant dust band that you see is basically where the stars are forming. And the dust band in this galaxy is so thick that it actually looks like it slices the galaxy in half. Now, this too is not a great bulge. It too is a galaxy that has a fair to midland bulge. But what we don't understand is over 2,000 globular clusters out here. So this is kind of an amazing conundrum. You get an idea that, okay, the number of globular clusters can be related to the relative stars of the galactic bulge. And of course, you have to find somebody right away who breaks the whole mold. And well, the Sombrero Galaxy, that's what kind of does it. What's kind of interesting about this is it's come up in my talks recently a couple times because I did a talk about obscure asterisms, and this turned out to be one of them. Those 3 stars in a row, I think, looked a little bit like Sagitta, the arrow. I think Joe told me that once. He has another name for it, I'm not sure, but that actually points to the sombrero. What's kind of interesting is you can take those 3 bright stars and you go about 3 times the distance, and they almost point directly towards the galaxy is. There's another asterism out there too, and this one I'm jumping websites right now. I believe this is the skyscraper site. And here you can see the Sombrero Galaxy right here. You can see that little arrow, that little Sagitta right there. And by the way, this was called Jaws. They thought it looked like a shark and its teeth. I don't see that there. And then over here is called a Stargate. I don't remember the show that well, but they say the emblem on the Stargate series was very similar. It's 3 stars, a triangle with a triangle. So that's an odd asterism, kind of pops out when you're scanning around in your telescope. You know you're nearby the sombrero. The 3 stars in a row, the little guy right here, this is how you actually find where the sombrero is, and then it points out the very core of the galaxy to you. So let me go back up here again. I'm going to give you a little bit of a help now for the challenge I've given everybody. And the challenge is, if you're all stuck at home and you're in light pollution, can you get a pair of binoculars, and on a good night, can you see M12 and M10 together? So here's a good way to do it. As Elan was pointing out, you start with looking for the brightest stars first. So you can see Arcturus up here in this picture. You can see Altair, bottom star of the summer triangle. You can also see Antares. That would be the heart of the scorpion down there. So right in the very center of those 3 is where Ophiuchus is actually located at. So that's one way just to generally kind of find the constellation. Whoop, didn't want to do that. Let's go back. Here we go. So that's one way to find the constellation. But here's how you can star hop now. Here's M10 and M12, and they're inside Ophiuchus. So what you can do, and they're just giving you another pattern to kind of use, you can use, and remember, Denise, those 2 stars I was talking about? There's 2 of them right there. Use the bottom of those pair, go to the bottom of Ophiuchus, and you can kind of make almost a right triangle. It'll get you over towards M10 or M12. So either way, take your binoculars and center them right between Altair, Antares, Arcturus, and see if you can't find the 2. Here they are, right about here. And like I said, at magnitude 6.5, 6.8, that really shouldn't be too much of a challenge. I'm going to try that tonight myself and see if I can't do that also. So let me go back to everybody here. I'm going to stop broadcasting my screen. Let me see if I can get back to all of you guys. There you are. So, I was probably talking off camera most of the time because I don't see myself right there. Joe, are you still out there? Hello, Joe.
I had to turn the mic on.
Okay, cool.
I turned it off so I didn't interfere with your presentation.
That's okay. And you know what? We have a little bit of time because it's about 8:36. We only plan on going about an hour. But I still want you to share some stuff with us because you had said that you had some recent pictures that you'd taken. And you also had impressed us in our Monday night group when you were showing us, we were looking at, everyone was following Mercury and Venus for a while there. And Joe, you even caught like Mercury right down into a crescent, didn't you? You saw it as a
yeah, that's part of the whole thing like over the weekend that I was looking at. But I got to tell you first about the Yeds, because Jeremy and I were the Yeds back in the good old days. And every time we got the Yeds, they were the wild and crazy Yeds, just like the old Saturday Night Live. You know, we go, hey, wild and crazy Yeds.
Yeah.
Jeremy loved, he considered himself to be Yed prior, and he loved to call me Yed posterior.
I get it.
But I always look for the Yeds. They're sort of my guide. And in fact, for finding M10 and 12, I just go up to that first star on B or something or other it was on the screen and shift left, and then bingo, you can't miss the 2 globulars.
So that's how you do it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Two Yeds.
Yeah, but they're like a friendly pair in the sky. Good old
Okay.
Yeds.
So
Because I
there you
like
go, everybody.
Ophiuchus. You commemorate
You
the Asclepius, the father of medicine.
I
In
know,
fact, I
yeah.
just came across it. There was rummaging on my website. I came across some old botanical pictures. There's a picture of Asclepius tuberosus, the butterfly weed, which grows abundantly along the railroad tracks next to Route 9 in Cape County. Has really pretty orange flowers. I was thinking old Ophiuchus. So I like Ophiuchus. That's also where Barnard's Star is.
Yeah. Well, give us a little tour about your recent stuff. I'll turn my video
Well,
off.
I don't know. Where's my screen here? There we go. Oh, there we go. It's already up there. I'm clicking. Oh, share. Okay, I got it. But there we go. You see it?
Yep, we're there.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll start off the most recent thing here. As you can see, is Venus in the morning sky. If you look, okay, get mouse over. There's Venus. I finally caught a picture of it. Technically in the nighttime sky on Sunday morning. That's like I think about 1.8 degrees altitude, just above the treetops. So, I've been following Venus. I've been following it since, since last January when I caught it 3 degrees east of the sun. Farther extent still came back. I was, the best view I had was probably on June 1st when I saw the really, really thin crescent, 3 degrees from the sun. Being careful to block the sun, with structure. And I've still yet to see a picture that was anywhere near as beautiful as the sight in my spotting scope. Because pictures always make the crescent look fat. It looks like a banana. And that's because Venus is so bright and everything. In fact, we scroll down a bit. In that same time, a bit later, it was about 3 degrees altitude. There is a picture of the crescent. That's what I took on Saturday morning. And then, in fact, there's the camera set up out of Sweden running Morristown. In fact, the back you can see the viewing screen is lit up. You can see clouds and stuff like that. So that was a productive night. I was out there Saturday morning too, but I didn't have the camera, so I was determined to come back and get pictures. And I was also skunked looking for Uranus on Saturday morning. And I finally found it on Sunday morning. Although it was a challenge, not because Uranus is so hard to see, but because of the damn cloud slowly moving over where Uranus was. And I probably saw it a bunch of times, but I couldn't, specifically identify until the cloud cleared up a bit, which it finally did. And I got to see some, reference stars nearby. I think it was 29 Arietis on the left, and then Xi Arietis below right of it. And then yes, that's in the right position. So that is indeed Uranus, because I didn't have a telescope set up, where I could, magnify to see little blue discs. So that way wouldn't work. But anyway, the bottom line of all this, since I started out on Saturday night looking for Mercury, as we were talking about, I saw all 7 of the major planets, 8 if you want to count the Earth, on Saturday night, Sunday morning, which is actually not that hard to do. In fact, Mercury is sort of the key. I had to catch that one. As Denise already pointed out, that's getting low and dim in the west. In fact, the only reason I followed Mercury this late probably is because I'm trying to get a decent view of the crescent Mercury. And it's just too low. When I first picked it up at 9:09, it fluctuated between an oval and a banana shape and woozing back and forth, even though it's just 19% illuminated. And, that's when I first found it. By the time I lost it just above the treetop, it was just like a seething blob. So I'm going to give up. I don't think I'm going to get to see a very nice crescent this time. That's just the way it is. But I had indeed seen it, which was the 7th time I saw it for this elongation. And of course, Mercury is sort of the opposite of Venus. We know Venus tends to get brighter as it loops around and gets back towards the sun. Because
Go back to the picture, Joe, so we can see it while you're talking.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, there's Venus.
There you go. Okay.
In fact, now it's doing the reverse. It's it's still going to get brighter, and I think it's another a few weeks before it reaches maximum brightness. As the diameter is going to shrink, but the illumination percentage is going up. So there's a balance between the diameter and the illumination where it gets brightest. So that's sort of coming. It's a little tougher to follow in the morning because you got to get the hell up and go out. But at least at this point in time, I wanted to start my morning observation of Venus and then follow through, with the post-inferior conjunction observation. That was the big thing there. And I've also been looking at the sunspot. Has anybody else looked at the sunspot?
I need to give you a big thanks, Joe. That night when you told me, Ted, there's a sunspot up there, I watched the entire next day. Not only did I see that sunspot, I saw that giant fissure type of thing occurring over a third of the sun, and it whipped around and changed all throughout that day. If you had not said that night, thanks again, Joe, because I did. I got the scope out the next day, and with a hydrogen alpha filter, I saw more activity on the surface of the sun than I've seen in a year.
Yeah, in fact, I finally got some usage. I have a Herschel wedge, which I bought a couple of years ago. It was actually the first time I got it out was on Friday. And I've been looking with my spotting scope, which is I'm using a sort of indifferent, eclipse filter in the front of it. So I finally got out the Herschel wedge and used that, and I had a real nice view on Friday. The white light view is great. You can see the dark umbra. You see like radial lines going out, making the penumbra. So it was pretty neat. And I think I looked this afternoon, and some spots like pretty close to the edge, it's like almost gone now. So I think I mentioned that too. If you're going to look at it, you got to get to it because it doesn't last forever. If only for the the rotation of the sun, let alone. And in fact, when I first saw it earlier in the week, there were some really small sunspots trailing it, and by Friday they were gone. They vanished, whatever sunspots do. In fact, I was talking to Alan about that. Alan Darrow, of course, is Soul Man, spelled S-O-L, as in the sun.
Right.
Yeah, and he was pointing, yeah, they disappeared and this and that. And actually learned some other things about it. They're talking about rotation rates and this and that, and the sunspot numbers. And I think that was down to 11 today. But for whatever reason, sunspot, if there's any sunspots normally start out with a number 10, and then you add the number of individual spots. So earlier in the week, it was like a 14 or a 15 with all these little sunspots. When it got down to the one remaining sunspot, it became 11, 10 plus 1. And I have no idea what the usefulness or what that's all about the numbering system. But that's
the day you told me to look, I saw one larger sunspot and then 4 small ones. And
and you saw that.
It was I actually enjoyed the show because they actually change around they change more quickly than I thought, and they actually changed throughout the day while I was watching them. So yeah, thanks for doing
that. And not just that, but they also change in orientation. See, that's why I made this go further down my little diagram here, trying to figure out where the sunspot was.
Okay.
Like this, and I haven't been able to put together a good thing where it gives you the orientation of the sun and the position of the sunspot at the same time. I use WinJupos, gives you very good orientation of the sun, but it doesn't show the sunspot. Then I got like Sky Tools does a live image, does a recent image of the sun, but it gets the orientation all screwed up. It doesn't take the daily field rotation into account. Everybody knows what the field rotation is, right?
As it changes as it goes through the daytime, it's going to look like it rotates.
Yeah, basically, in fact, this view here, you can see it was taken 11 o'clock in the morning. As the day progresses, the sun will rotate clockwise, and at about 1 o'clock, which is actually astronomical noon, the north will be more or less straight up. And then it'll continue to rotate as the day progresses. And anyway, when you look at the sun in the sky, of course, it's got this blank disk. You don't have all these handy lines present pointing things out. So I'm sort of going back and trying to figure it out.
So Joe, when I looked at it, I got the idea. Let me see. Can I do it this way?
I see your arrows.
Yeah, I thought it was not those arrows. Hold on. So, and I'm wondering too, I think I can change the color. Yellow on yellow is not working, but I think I saw it like right in that spot. I'm just wondering if it's a flipped image of where I thought I was seeing it.
Well, it depends on what time of day it was. And also, yeah, if you're using a diagonal, then, because I looked at it again, but here's the way the sunspot's actually moving. See that little pink line move?
Yep.
That's the direction the sunspot's moving with the rotation of the sun.
Okay. And
that's with the spotting scope, which is a direct view because that's an erecting prism, so it's correct in the sky. But later in the week, this mouse, come on, mouse. My mouse is, get back there. There we go. My mouse is rebelling. There we go. I'm sorry. So there's another view, but it's all sort of backwards because now I'm looking with the diagonal because I had the Herschel wedge out. I don't know if you can see this here, but this is that's my Herschel wedge. It's, you can look that up on the internet. It's like a little thin prism that sends 95% of the light out of the field of view. So you get a real nice image. You still got to put some filtration in because 5% is still a whole lot of sunlight. But now here's how it looked, on Friday in the afternoon. So we're now 5 hours later in the day, and we're looking with the diagonal. And that's where I saw the spot. So really hard to make sense because I saw the spot like right about there, before. Now it's down here. Like, how'd that happen? Well, when you're rotating, this is now the apparent motion. Now it's reversed and everything. So, this distance between the moon travel and the equator stayed the same. So now the sun's rotated, and I'm looking at it like flipped sideways. So that's how I had to sort things out for myself. That's why
So it's a real puzzle then with one spot. If you had 2 or 3 spots, it'd be easier to see their orientation.
Yeah, you might not even have to fill in the lines like I'm doing, but yeah, when you get, one single major spot, just on the sun, at any given time of the day, and then you see it, yeah, it confuses me, that's for sure.
Now, Joe,
Anyway, that's why I made these little pictures up to try and figure that out.
Joe, I know you don't want to show it, but scroll down because I saw it. Go down to the when you were taking the pictures of Venus going through the Pleiades.
Pleiades?
This is old news for all of our members because I thought Joe.
Where did I put those pictures at? I thought I had
They're there. Keep going. I thought I saw them. You keep going. Keep going.
There's a link someplace. Oh, yeah. Oh, there we go.
There we are. I know your site better than you.
Yeah, but where's the? Oh, here it is. Here's the page. Is this the one you're talking about?
No.
I like about.
Yeah, that's a cool one. There you go.
Yeah, that's a picture in 2012 taken by another fellow. Which is he posted that after he saw my picture. Like, then I put them together on the same page. So, these pictures are taken 8 years apart, same date, 8 years apart, and you can see Venus. I can make that. Can I get them all in here? Not quite. Just doesn't fit.
It's okay.
Let me see some here. Let's say, let's go down.
There you go. That works.
There we go. Now we can get them all in. So there you go. There's the 2 pictures. So you look here in particular, look at these 2 stars here. This is almost on the same line, whereas on my, Venus, it's actually down a little bit on that, off that line. But still,
Right.
Still remarkably close for being, 8 years apart and I don't know, maybe a couple hours or something. Which is, again, the 8-year repeating cycle. In this case, is the near miss of the transit. This time, the previous time we had a transit coming up.
Right.
We just missed.
It just amazes me. It's a good picture. I like the 2. I like the comparison. Sorry for those of you who saw this on a previous Monday, but I wanted Joe to show it to everybody there. Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome, Ted.
Looks good. Well, we're coming up on 8:50, everybody. And Joe, if you, wait, go ahead. Show there it is. There's the last one.
Yeah, it's just, I said we already went through these things. So the crescent before, and you got the crescent after, and there's the camera.
Gotcha.
And here's for Denise, here's my Mercury page. Here's all my sightings from this elongation. 7 times this elongation. And that's the other one. Here's the paragraph I did in spotting all the planets. Most of which I saw, 6 of the 7 I saw within like 3/4 of an hour on Sunday morning.
Were you able to pick Pluto out?
No, I didn't even try for 134,340 Pluto. That's an asteroid, 134,340.
Right.
No, I'm just a Weisenheimer. I mean, in order to see Pluto, I'd have to get the 16-inch out.
Right.
And it is available now because maybe still it's in Sagittarius, but
Well, we were going to try it with the observatory scope because it's within like a degree or 2 of Jupiter. It's in conjunction with Jupiter, I believe now. So we thought
it's over in that neck of the woods.
To
the teaspoon.
Unshare your screen and I'll finish on this one because maybe some people will be interested. And let me see if I can do it. Yep. Give me a second. And here I just wanted to show you because Pluto and Jupiter are in conjunction, and I thought, well, this might be the best chance we'll ever have of seeing it. Let's go back here. So let's see.
Well, it's always the best chance because Pluto continues to recede from the Earth since we passed perihelion, like what, 30 years ago. It's slowly moving away in its 250-year orbit.
Well,
so
right
we're
now,
not going to be around when it returns to to perihelion again.
Wow. Well, right now, if you take a look, it's like tonight, it's a little bit over 1 degree from Jupiter. And if I were to go day by day, I think I can do this.
Jupiter's in retrograde motion, so it's going to be passing by Pluto soon.
Yeah, let's see. You ready?
In fact, that could be a problem. The glare of Jupiter, might be a problem.
So what I'm doing is I'm advancing. Here's June 22, June 24, June 25. It looks like it's going to pass its closest. Yeah, just about June 30th, very end of June. And at that point, they're only, let me see, I'm just measuring the distance between them. Oh, come on, selection.
They give us the measure from. There you go.
There you go.
So,
So they're gonna be
40,
they're gonna be
like 3/4 of a degree or so.
yeah, they're gonna be less than half a
2/3.
degree, half a degree. So they should both be in view of the same field of view of our observatory. Well,
Well, if they are, you'll never see it because Jupiter will just totally wash it out.
Gotcha. Because yeah, I thought, boy, if this is the best chance ever to catch Pluto, this kind of conjunction of the two would actually kind of work. Okay.
Well, it gives you an easy starting point, but again, like I said, because of the the high brightness of Jupiter, it giveth and it taketh.
So we're coming up on that 9 o'clock hour, everybody. And what I thought you could do is we can turn our microphones on. If you want to turn your pictures back on, you can. I see Denise is still here. Elan is still there somewhere. There he is. Okay. And if you guys have any questions for any of us, now might be the time you want to play around or you want to ask anything. So show yourselves if you'd like to, and turn your mics on so we can have a group conversation.
One of the things I want to mention, Denise is talking about the annular eclipse. That will be streaming live on YouTube for Sleuth's channel at Sunday at 1 a.m.
Cool.
Really?
Yep.
So it's on YouTube. What was the time it's going to be?
1 a.m. Sunday.
1 a.m. Sunday. Cool. And they'll probably catch it and we can watch it again later, right?
Oh, yeah, they record everything. You can go back and watch it.
Gotcha. Ted, the sun has a great effect. You look like you have two devil's horns behind your head from that prominence coming up.
Yeah. I was from SLU about a week ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I must have missed that.
Telescope that just runs all day on the sun.
Right.
I just wanted to say goodbye. I'm going to have to log out, but this was a great meeting.
Thanks, Renee.
I enjoyed it. Elan, Denise, Ted, and Joe, that was so informative.
Thanks, Renee.
Ew.
Good luck with
Yeah.
Joe, and hopefully we'll get you out somebody run again soon.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Next time I'm coming by myself.
Well, you're always welcome. Got a queen size bed. Got an extra one.
Hey, Ted.
All right. I'll see you guys later.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Renee.
Renee.
Bye.
Hey, Ted.
Yes.
Wait. Remember, where the hell did you go? I don't know. I lost my picture. I got my
I'm here. I see you. Go ahead.
Well, anyway, you were talking last week we talked about an aerial view of East Point or something that I couldn't find at the moment.
Right.
And I have the picture here. I dug that out like I said it was, but I'm not
Okay.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm out to at my Zoom. I got this Zoom screen that says, where'd it go?
Well, hold
I
on.
can hear you, but I can't see anybody.
Well, switch to active speaker or gallery.
There's the thing on the side. Boy. Oh, there's the gallery. There we go. Now we're back. So anyway, let me take you for a quick aerial view of East Point, okay?
So just so you guys know, in a conversation I had with Joe, he's talking about he's taking these pictures from East Point. And
Well, this one I didn't take.
And I remember stumbling along the east shore of Jersey, and I got out of my car and was so badly attacked with bugs that, the mosquitoes, I was nearly eaten alive. I got in the car. We had to kill hundreds of them that came in the windows with us. And it turned out I went back in the winter. And if you look I can actually show you. If you look at this point, okay, let's do this.
You can see the lighthouse there, right?
Yeah, but right here, that's where that parking lot is where I wound up observing it, because there were still buggy things over in this area too. But I wound up going over there, and then I went back once. I had to go back in the winter because it was so. Oh my God, there were so many things eating it.
Yeah, well, in the winter, the wind coming off the bay gets you.
Tell everybody where it is.
Well, it's the mouth. This is the bottom of the screen is the Morris River coming down from Millville, and the body of water off to the right is the Delaware Bay. The road over here runs roughly north to south. So when you're looking off of this parking lot, you're looking more or less south. And out in that direction where it gets lost in the haze and everything, that would be like the peninsula, Sea Isle, Avalon, Stone Harbor, and Wildwood are off in that direction. You know, it's really a hazy day. But
So if
that's
anyone
that's where I'm going
wanders,
to go down to watch launches out of Wallops. That's where I go down
right?
to spot Omega Centauri.
Well, if anyone wants to go down there and you come down the road, you could go all the way down here, and that's the spot to park. But don't go driving down here because that winds up a private dead end at the end there, and then you wind up going into private property to get out of that area. So, yeah, this is a good spot to observe from. And, of course, I thought that should have been the best, but I can't get the car. I don't know. Couldn't get the car in and out of there too easily.
How far from
Get out
Wallops
of
is
where?
it?
That's all sand, this area here, and this is all parking lot over here.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see they blocked it off. It used to be, it wasn't that long ago. You could, I guess this boat ramp wasn't blocked off down here, but they, I guess after the last hurricane or storm or whatever, they put this barrier up and then they put chunks of concrete there. So I guess you're not supposed to launch your boat.
So
I
if
don't
you
know.
guys are looking for a real dark site, there's
Well,
one.
overhead, the sky is probably as dark there as it is anywhere in New Jersey. But you have some
Yeah.
local light pollution, so sometimes, you know, the horizons aren't always that good. In fact, the worst thing of all, this house right here, to the left, you can see telephone pole, there's a light on that pole, which is a real annoyance. But if you set up on the right-hand side of the house, you're in the shadow. But I guess
Right.
that's why it's not a very good general observing spot. You go down there just for, say, specific things. Like I said, you know, rocket launches out of Wallops, or like I said, I go to look at Omega Centauri or whatever.
How
Cool
far is
spot.
the view from NASA Wallops from this location?
I think it's about
Seeing
90
this-
miles or so, 90 or 95 miles.
Okay, awesome.
Where's
Not
this?
quite as close as Cape May, but it's also a bit shorter of a drive.
It's on the, so if
Maybe
I'm not
one to the other.
mistaken, down there would be south. Over here is Philadelphia this way, right, Joe? Or
No,
maybe this
Philadelphia's
way?
back off to the left. You go back.
Where?
When you're looking off of here, right here at this parking area, when you're looking out
Yep.
over the water, you're looking more or less south,
Okay, that's south.
which would be towards Wallops. Yes, that would be
Philly
more or less
over
towards
here.
Wallops in the south, and or
Philly.
Delaware, and or in fact, when you're looking down there, you can actually look. You can see the gap between Cape May and Luz. You can see the light pollution comes along, hugging the ground, and all of a sudden it drops off. You get this dark band, you know, a small dark band between, you know, Delaware and New Jersey. You're looking straight out to sea. Which, of course, if you're looking for Omega Centauri, that's the best time to catch it when it's, you know, and that's almost due south. So it's, you know, it's crossing the meridian as you're talking about earlier at its highest point, and also the darkest point in the sky.
Right. Elan, you're in southern Jersey, you know, way down south, and you're on the eastern shore, you know, not the west where the Atlantic would be. Cape May would still be way down this way a ways.
No, well, Cape May would be more or less often almost this direction.
But what do you have to do? Drive
South.
around the land and out that way?
To get Cape May, well, you have to go all the way back up here a few miles, 5 or more miles to get to Route 47, then
Right.
look around because, you know, the bottom, you know, curves around where the Cape is.
Right?
Well, I should probably do here. Do I have a map? Do I have watch? It's the easiest way.
Very interested in seeing all of the launches coming out of the Mars facility or the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport, as Rocket Lab has just built their pad. They just did a static fire. I don't think they're going to be launching till 2021, but we're going to see so many launches out of this facility. And so if there's
There
a
we
place
go.
where we can go not only for the launch, but also for observing, that's really awesome.
So take a look at
Okay,
where
see
you're
we
at.
are now.
Southern Jersey.
There's the Cape May Peninsula. Your East Point is right there. And
I want to
there's-
pop in real quick. I got to leave. My mom lost a pill and it's an antipsychotic. So I got to find it. I don't want a cat to eat it or something. So good night, everybody.
Wonderful
Yeah.
presentation. Thank you so
I
much.
gotta jump in a minute too
I got to
here.
go sweep and clean the floor. Make sure it's not laying around somewhere. Good
Okay.
night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good seeing everybody.
Burr.
Go up that
Oh,
way.
that's right, yeah.
So if we zoom in here, and in fact, we even turn the satellite on, you can see the same thing. So there's, you know, the lighthouse is here, and there's a little road going over. And here's the road coming in. So yeah, to get back out to Cape May, like I said, you have to back all the way up and somehow actually go across here and get back to 347. But sort of you have to curve around to get back down to Cape May.
Gotcha. Well, thanks for sharing that, Joe. Yeah, because I stumbled over that spot and thought, wow, what a great dark sky that was.
Not even in the summertime, if they rent that house out. In fact, I tell you this story. Once we stopped by there, coming back from Cape May, we did a star watch for a school in the West Cape May down here. So I want to show the guys something here, at East Point. So we stopped by East Point. Well, it turns out whoever was in that house, whether they owned it or rented it, they must have been having a party. The parking lot was full of cars. Music was blasting. There was bottles all over the place. It was getting more to the warmer weather. So I'm normally there in the
Unshare your screen now,
it's
Joe.
desolate at that point in time. Right?
Go ahead, unshare your screen though.
Let me turn it off.
Yeah, I want to get the pictures back for everybody. All
Okay.
right. So we're all back. We're looking at 9:03, folks. So we're getting towards the end of our meeting here. Anybody
Okay.
else have any questions for Elan or anything real quick before we sign off?
To your local municipality and see what your light pollution ordinances are, because I guarantee over the next couple of years, people are going to build things and they might bug you.
Yeah, my casino.
No doubt about that.
Get
Just
started.
LED lights. People, they're so bright and cheap. People, waste even more light now.
I know. Well, what happened with me was jumbo Megatron screens. They put 4 drive-in movie-size screens, all LED lighting, and it makes my whole skyline back here flicker.
Are they like those electronic, like billboard things?
Oh yeah, you get to
Yeah.
see the slots roll and the women shake, and it's right there, right on the street road. It was so bright. It was so bright when they opened up that a mile and a half that way, you could see it on the Woodhaven Road extension driving by. People knew they were getting anywhere near us within miles because it was so bright. Township made them cut them down to about half brightness. Too many accidents on the roads right out front. It was just so bright. It was nobody could look at anything but that. Interesting. We lost that battle here in Ben Salem. Hey, Bernie, glad to see you tuned in. And I'm just looking around to see anybody else who is new. I saw some new members who are out there. Not Andrew, not Ivan. It was a young girl who's signed on a couple of times. Guess I've lost her. I'm trying to make it a point to see who's signing on and who kind of stays along with us. Well,
my daughter was connected, Genevieve.
oh, okay. Is that who that is?
Yeah, she's in Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay, so is she on every now and then on one of the Monday nights?
Yeah, I tell her to hook her up on Mondays.
Okay, gotcha. All right, because I was just wondering. I thought I'm always trying to figure out who are members, who are it's supposed to be. I don't think we have this running out to anybody but members. So it's only a members thing. Well, thanks everybody for coming out. If there's no more questions, I guess we'll shut ourselves down now at that time. Again, we're going to be together on Monday night. We do that Astrocora. Elan, I'll make sure you get a mailing for it, although I know you got lots to do yourself. When are your meetings at? When are you doing the Berks County meetings now?
It's second Thursdays at 7:30, but we've been doing second and fourth. And also,
Okay.
we have a bunch of remote things going on. So the radio station wants to dig in and do more remote observing. There are people who have never looked through a telescope before, and so it's their introduction to it. So it's a lot of fun to drag them into a field, try to get them to bundle up as much as I can, and they never listen. And so they freeze while looking at something that I didn't pick the date, so they all ended up looking at the moon and the phases of Venus and a few clusters and things like that. But mostly they were interested in Starlink and the Chinese spy satellites. And so we looked at a couple things, but the Berks Astronomy Club set up dates. We're actually observing out in northern Berks County, so up towards Allentown. So about halfway between Reading and Allentown. We're hoping once we're actually green, I think now we're yellow, or maybe we're green, but we're still sort of wary. We're using microfiber cloths and either soap, or I prefer like isopropyl alcohol to take the microfiber cloth, spray the cloth with the alcohol, and wipe the lens and eyepiece off, like the plastic or whatever rubberized stuff is on top. And we'll all be wearing masks as well, especially around the scopes. Outside of 6 feet, feel free to take it off, but we'll be having people look through scopes, hopefully, within the club. We haven't opened it up to the public yet, but we have it scheduled for the club to do observing at a club location, but we're also going to bring the radio station in and do a little broadcasting from there too.
I was thinking something similar to that, and I was wondering what the effect might be on the optics, the optical piece. So I'm thinking, okay, let's grab some of my older, cheap Plossl eye pieces and use those in the scope. So keep me posted on what happens when you start wiping them down all the time. Does it do any effect on the optic or anything?
Standard lens wipes, you can buy those little disposable, microfiber, things. They're just generally isopropyl alcohol. I forget what percentage.
I wonder if it's enough of a percent to kill off the virus.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you see a lot of brands, like
minutes.
it used to be Zeiss, and then other people make the same, sort of thing with different names
I have
in the package.
I have them for my glasses, and
Yeah.
I know that, and maybe it would work, Elan, because he's right. It's isopropyl alcohol that's on my
I think
eyeglasses.
it's 60%. 60% isopropyl.
Yeah, I don't know. I
alcohol.
never.
70%.
Let's see here because I got some here. Like I don't even see this. You're getting in front of me. My Zeiss lens wipes, and you take them out. You get these little. It's like here's a thing of 2 of them like that.
What's the percent alcohol?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I wonder what it says here. Now I have to get my Sherlock Holmes glass out. And see what it says.
No matter the percentage, it would still take 20 minutes to kill anything on the surface. Same thing goes, side note, with hand sanitizer. It still takes 20 minutes to kill anything, even though people love to put that little squirt of something that smells good on, but it takes 20 minutes to kill anything. So it is a risk. That's why right now we're keeping it within the Berks Astronomy Club and the radio station, and we'll broadcast. We're trying to get people to get out and go outside, and anytime it's dark and clear, keep your eye on the sky. We try to get people to go out, but hopefully soon we can do a full-blown star party. We haven't promised anything, but we have several dates scheduled out, and almost every 2 or 3 weeks we have something scheduled.
Well, we're still on hold with Muddy Run. We're still on hold with we're going to do the virtual live stream, but I don't think they're going to have anyone out there. They're going to follow the state park model. And so it's all a matter of, I think we're up to 25 people are allowed to gather at this point. So they're waiting for that to go up even higher. But I just don't think it's going to happen this summer. If not, maybe into the fall.
I'd be interested
And we
to
haven't
see how.
gotten any permission to go back to Wharton State Forest yet. No, either for our public or private star watches. Although there's still limited numbers of the guys in the South Jersey Astronomy Club have been using their private spot. I mean,
Right.
it authorized me to, the parks is in a go ahead. But we
Right.
haven't been, the West Jersey has not been allowed back at that sign for members or public star watches. And
Well,
nobody seems to know when at this point.
Well, we'll keep in touch with you, Elan, because when we eventually get out there, maybe I'll have you come out and we'll do a globe at night together on the hill. We'll film it out. We'll just do it live and have everyone do one with us at the same time.
Sounds awesome.
I don't know. That might be something to do. We could be out there in masks if we have to. If we're 6 feet apart, we'll be safe, and we could just do a live one from the park. So consider that an invite, and I'll see if I can make it happen on one of the next couple of months coming up. And hey, enjoy your wedding coming up. Happy.
Thanks so much. Hopefully I get to tune into the Stonehenge thing at 8. We'll be having our ceremony at 6. So I think I might be able to make it, but we'll have to see.
Okay.
Even though it is in the middle of a pandemic with a lot of things going on in the world, at least I get to hold her hand at the end of the day. So I'm lucky to be able to do that. So we're doing a small Zoom ceremony with our friend, the celebrant who's running the ceremony, and
Right.
some aunts and uncles who live locally, and it's hard to keep them away anyway. So
Right. Well, good luck with the whole thing. Wish everybody a safe and happy event. You take care of yourself. Everybody else, we're going to sign you off now at that time. We're at the end of our meeting for the month. I'll see some of you back here next Monday night for Astro Quora. Again, no topic, but you're welcome to sign on and chat astronomy. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.
Yes.
Good night.
Take
Fun observing.
care.